Hey, I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. This fight night card kinda lit. It's a whole lot of good fights on here, some big names on it as well. But let's just go ahead and get to it. Beneil Dariush versus Arman Saryukin presents yet another opportunity for the youngins to overtake the geezers of the division and to assert themselves at the top. Because up to this point, these old men have been whooping up on these young boys. Beneil Dariush himself throttled Gamrot. Justin Gaethje beat up on and gave Fiziev CTE. And even taking it back further when Dustin Poirier absolutely ended Dan Hooker's career. Regardless though, last time I checked, Arman was actually a 3-1 favorite in this fight. And me personally, I don't even like this matchup for Arman too much. Now, I like Arman Saryukin. He's really good, actually. But I do think he a little overrated. Like, I just feel like a lot of people gas him up a little too much. Now, he is an elite wrestler. Easily one of the best in the division. Great grappler as well. His stand-up kind of iffy, though. Now, he's a great kicker. Super explosive. Got great dexterity. Does very well to vary up his targets. And obviously the beginning of the end for Dariush in this Oliveira fight was basically a head kick. So that could be something for Arman to look for in the fight. But his boxing sucks. Offensively, he really ain't much of a hands thrower. I ain't gonna lie. And defensively, with how explosive and really reckless he can be in his blitzes, he does leave himself pretty open a lot of the time, I ain't gonna lie. And we going to get somebody like Beneil Dariush, who really is more of a plotter. He don't even move around that much. But he is very defensively responsible and has pretty good eyes to see most of the stuff that's coming at him. And he does do very well to line people up with that left straight. Now, the whole fight really probably gonna come down to the wrestling exchanges. And for as good as Arman is, when I think about it, I don't really see him just having a clear advantage in these scrambles against Dariush. He's real keen on rolling around a lot, looking for leg locks, things like that. He's real crafty. And Arman is too. I just feel like they gonna stalemate. And something to note with Arman is we have seen him slow down before in a 5-round fight. So if he get too heavy in all of these grappling exchanges and gas himself out, he could end up making it easier for Beneil to sneak out a decision. Now, I either see that happening, which is the result I'm going to go with personally, or I could see Arman going in and blitzing Dariush down and getting him out of there fairly quickly. That's very possible. But I'm going to go with Dariush kind of dragging him into some deeper water and winning the decision. Moving on, Bobby Green versus Jalen Turner is going to be an amazing offensive bout. Jalen Turner stepping in on short notice for Dan Hooker, oddly enough. But I do kind of favor him going against Bobby Green, I ain't gonna front. He is an offensive weapon, I ain't gonna lie. His offensive stats almost maxed out. The problem is that his cardio and his defense is horrid. Like, he almost actually has none. And that could end up hurting him against Bobby, but I think he'll do real well at poking at him from distance and keeping him there. But if we do get into some close quarters, I think the knees and the elbows will serve Turner well. And if for some reason the fight ends up hitting the mat, Jalen Turner is a handful down there as well. He uses his long limbs pretty well to find some quite odd submissions. And overall, I really just think he's going to be too much for Bobby Green. Now, with that being said, every time I have doubted Bobby in the past year, maybe year and a half, he's won. So me picking Jalen Turner might end up meaning that Bobby Green going to win the fight, but it is what it is. Figgy finally making his bantamweight debut against Rob Font, and this fight could go so many different ways to me. Now, when I just think about it from face value, I see Rob Font doing well, as he always does, in boxing range, getting the better of a lot of their exchanges. Now, there's two things for Figgy that make things interesting. His kicks and potentially his power. Now, for his kicks, Figgy's really just a great kicker. I think he'll go southpaw a lot of the times to get his back leg body kick going, and the leg kick should absolutely pay huge dividends against the boxing heavy stance from Font. And you would like to think that Figgy's going to get even more powerful going up to 135, not cutting as much weight and killing himself to make weight. And if that is the case, this fight could end up being a lot like Font's fight with Chito. Font winning a lot of exchanges, putting in good work, but Figgy getting the upper hand in exchanges and winning rounds based off damage. And I also wouldn't be too surprised if Figgy was able to get some wrestling going against Rob Font, because as we've seen in the past, Rob Font ain't really got the best takedown defense. And even though Figgy ain't fought nobody as big as Rob Font before, I think Figgy's actually bigger than Rob Font, so size shouldn't be some kind of issue. And Figgy can be an imposing presence on top of people in regards to both ground and pound and his jiu-jitsu. Now, I definitely just spent time talking about all of that, but as I said at first, I do think this is going to be a striking match, a lot of boxing exchanges, and if that's the case, I don't think Figgy's beating Rob Font in that kind of fight. As I've said in the past, if you go in the octagon and you really trying to strike with Rob Font, specifically box, I don't know how many people in the division, period, gonna win that fight. Regardless, though, I am side with Rob Font. And lastly, Kelvin Gastelum returns to welterweight to take on Sean Brady, and I'm going to keep it short. I think Kelvin Gastelum is going to do bad things to Sean Brady. Sean Brady's cool, great grappler. That's really what his game is based around. But on the feet, he kind of sucks. Nah, I ain't even going to do him like that right there. He's good enough kind of to get by, but Jesus. I'm going to be honest. Getting stopped by Bilal Muhammad is one of the craziest things you can do. That is a terrible look. But he did it. Now, the fight gonna come down to if Kelvin Gastelum can stop the takedowns. Because if he gonna be getting ragdolled around like he was at middleweight, oh, he's doomed. Sean Brady gonna have a field day, I ain't gonna lie. But if he can stop the takedowns, and it's not like Sean Brady's some great wrestler anyways, Kelvin is going to give Sean some crazy CTE on the feet. The power he's always packed in his left hand has been quite monstrous, and Sean Brady don't want no parts of it. So, yeah, I am going to go with Kelvin Gastelum. But again, it's all going to come down to his takedown defense. Yeah, this little fight night card is great. Like, for real. And I am indeed going to be tapped in from start to finish.